What's going on, everyone? So reports came out that the Denver Nuggets and Chicago Bulls trade for potential swaps of Michael Porter Jr. and Zach Lavine are dormant at this time. It is still very possible that they re-pick those conversations back up and potentially get a deal done as they move closer to the trade deadline. We're still a little less than a month away in February 6th, but it's very interesting that they at least explored these conversations. They at least, kind of talked about it. Supposedly, there was a report like a couple weeks ago that was like the Nuggets talked to Michael Porter Jr. and said, no way, we're not trading you, we're keeping you. And now reports coming out like, no, like they had the conversations. So it's one of those things where they talked about it, it fell through, didn't work out the way that they planned, and then they were like, you know what? Let's tell Michael Porter Jr. that he's good, that we don't have any plans of trading him. I just think it's a little ironic, but we'll see. Time will tell. Now, whenever an organization says, oh, they're not going to trade this guy, we all know how that plays out. DeMar DeRozan is a prime example of that. But nonetheless, look, I've talked about, if I'm Denver, I would take the game. Denver's trapped no matter what they do, right? Zach Lavine, because that's the big conversation. Like, if you get Zach Lavine, then you're stuck. If it doesn't work, you're stuck. If it doesn't work, you're stuck anyway, right? So at least go get the guy that raises your ceiling higher, right? The thing about Zach Lavine and what he provides that Michael Porter Jr. doesn't is shot creation and just more versatile of a scorer, right? Michael Porter Jr. can, get to the basket, mid-range, and three, but he's kind of more just like spot up, beating guys off the dribble type of, attacking closeouts type of player. Where Zach Lavine is just much more explosive, particularly on the offensive side of things. Unless Michael Porter Jr. is hitting 2, 3, 4 threes in a row, right? Like, Zach Lavine's just a guy that applies better rim pressure, makes you more explosive, can break out in transition, which Denver is already one of, I believe they're number one in transition, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, like, he just would add to what they already are good at while raising their ceiling even higher by giving them a guy that can just take over down stretches. Zach Lavine's over here just like single-handedly beating all these teams. Imagine him on Denver. Imagine what he would look like with his athleticism, with his foot speed, with his abilities alongside Jokic and Jokic's playmaking ability and passing ability. I mean, it would be unfair at that point, right? And, I see a lot of people that have concerns. Yeah, but, they would be so much smaller. You have Jokic, right? Like, doesn't get much bigger than that. Like, you're fine in that regard, right? Zach Lavine go get you 5 to 8 rebounds a game. You just adjust the game plan. You tack rebound, you gain rebound a little more than you typically do. Aaron Gordon will be back at some point. He's going to help alleviate some of that rebounding, right? I think you'd be fine in that regard. I think you'd be okay. Yes, again, you don't have that 6'10" guy, but you have you're much more dynamic. You can do more things, particularly on the offensive side, that you can't currently do right now, while also getting a guy that will take pressure off of Jamal Murray, that'll take pressure off of Nikola Jokic, and a guy that is really good off ball. He's one of the best catch and shoot three-point shooters in the league. So he's a guy that, when he doesn't have the ball, is still a threat, right? But when he does have the ball, he can make a play, he can go and get after it, but he can also self-create and just go get buckets, shoot over the top, attack and operate in the mid-range, as well as applying pressure at the rim. And then, again, his passing ability to be able to kick out or throw it up to Jokic or, kind of have that 1-2 punch with Murray, right? It gives you multiple fronts of attack, right? And particularly the last year and a half, Jamal Murray has not been the guy that you want him to be. He still has his games, still has his moments. He still has these times where he looks brilliant, but he also is kind of like, which Jamal Murray are you getting tonight, right? Where if you get a guy like Zach Lavine, when Jamal has those kind of those rough, iffy games, you have another guy that can just handle the offensive workload, right? You have another guy that can go and make plays. And if it does work and it works well, one, you might win the championship. In all seriousness, Denver with Zach Lavine, in my opinion, would be tough. Obviously, you don't know until it actually comes to fruition and everything plays itself out, right? A lot of things that you think would work at one time and then don't, right? But I do think that's one of those things that would, because of Jokic's ability to make plays for others, right? Like his ability to pass and be that kind of point center is just a luxury that many teams don't have. And so you can operate Zach Lavine in certain ways and manners that you just can't do with a Michael Porter Jr. And then again, Zach Lavine in his explosiveness would just make things very tough. No one would want to see that. No one would want to play that, right? It's already hard enough to guard Denver at times. Imagine defending and having to deal with Zach Lavine. And how do you double Zach Lavine, right? Like one, if you just leave Zach Lavine on an island, whoever's in front of him is getting cooked. And then if you go to try to double team and try to slow him down, you have Jamal Murray you have to worry about. You have Jokic that you have to worry about. And I think it would just cause so many, advantage plays for Denver in so many different ways. People worry about Zach Lavine and his defense. Well, one, Michael Porter Jr. isn't this stout lockdown guy. He can get after it at times. Denver's never been this elite defensive team, right? They're just really good offensively and just tough to beat. But also Zach Lavine every year is either at or around, slightly above or below league average, right? Defensively. So again, you're fine. Right? It's about being more explosive, being more dynamic, changing the way that you can approach and attack these various teams, kind of changing your identity a little bit while still maintaining the kind of roots that make you so successful and that help you win a championship. Well, now you can go and continue to push in that regard. But another thing that I was kind of getting on and then kind of diverted off a little bit was if it works and Zach Lavine, let's say, smooth, goes great, right? Zach's cooking, him and Jokic are just that 1-2 punch. Jamal Murray now becomes expendable, right? Again, I'm not saying you trade Jamal Murray, just trade Jamal Murray. But if Zach Lavine can give you that offensive versatility that you're looking for, right, and can give you kind of that self-creation as well as making plays for others and whatnot, you could look to move Jamal Murray. I'm not saying that they will or that they would or anything like that, but it's definitely something that you could explore if Zach Lavine gives you Jamal Murray insurance, right? So if Jamal Murray continues to struggle and it's just kind of we just give him this extension, it'd be nice to get off of him, right? He hasn't been what we want or what we need him to be, right? It's been a little rough with them. Well, now you can look to kind of change directions and maybe turn him into, maybe some depth, right? Get just that point of attack guard, get some depth, and then maybe get a 3-and-D shooter or something like that to spot up at 3 and just move Zach to the 2 or get, 2 point of attack. Can you get 2 kind of pit bull players that just 3-and-D style that can just defend and then and obviously you need them to be able to knock down the shot. Again, I'm just saying it gives you that possibility. I'm not saying that they should or that they will, right? Jamal might be great, right? And it might take a ton of pressure off of Jamal to where he can kind of, he doesn't have to be elite every night, right? You could have, even if Jamal kind of fades back into the third option, but, he's giving you, say, 15 and 6 or something like that, right? It just, you may end up finding that balance, right? And you can always have one of those guards on the court at all times, really just have that impact, and then even Russell Westbrook. Imagine Russell Westbrook and Zach Lavine out in transition, right? That'd just be ridiculous. And then also Russell Westbrook with his defensive abilities. And, he's been really good for Denver this season, right? So the fact that Russell Westbrook can kind of slot into, you could do that if you want. You could go, Jamal Murray, Russell Westbrook, Zach Lavine, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. On paper, that's one of the greatest teams ever. But in reality, Russell Westbrook isn't Russell Westbrook anymore. But he's still been very good for them. I don't hate the idea. I think it's something that Denver should personally pick up and explore again. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Think yes, this is something you got to pick it up. You got to try to see if you can make something happen in that regard. Do you think, no, stay away from it? Makes no sense. Stick to the script, stick to the plan. I just think Denver's going to have to shake it up at some point. I just think Denver kind of staying the course, staying where they're at. I don't know if they're going to win another championship. No one rule them out. They're very good, right? No one wants to play Denver in a playoff series, but are they going to be able to replicate an NBA championship again? I don't know. It's going to be tough, but again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, either way, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out, so we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.